Schools are now removing the objective comparison of grading and now creating a watered down version of grading. All these different educational systems, and I don't really want to say educational systems because they truly don't educate us, but these school systems, whether it's college, high school, different forms of universities, they're reducing credits required for certain degrees. They're no longer using the grading system, but doing a pass or fail system, and they're changing their environments to be more comfortable. Okay, there's different ways that they do that. Now, this is to be more sensitive towards people, to be more inclusive towards people, to make people feel like they're actually participating, to be less judgmental. But what this really does is it removes the objective comparison of reality. In reality, we're all competing. Whether now school, through the academic system, academia, you're competing for a grade. Most of what happens in school is not indicative of what happens in real life. In real life, you're all living in a competition. We're all in a competition. Girls are competing with each other. Men are competing with each other. We're both competing with each other. Let's use jobs, for example. We're competing for jobs, okay? When you go through the school system, what's really happening, just to kind of paint a brief history of the school system, this developed from the Prussian school model, which is that's essentially Germany, the Prussian school model, and then that came to the Western fronts during the Industrial Revolution, so that companies, mainly factories, could find obedient factory workers and hire them from a school system. So this was never really about educating. This was more about obedience, and you would grade people based off their obedience. And it's really memorizing information, regurgitating it, and then passing, and so on and so forth. And then you recruit factory workers. This has transitioned into companies will see, okay, you did well in these classes, you did well in these classes. If we're being honest, there's not much critical thinking that is being taught in schools, whether it's elementary, middle, high school. You'll have some places in university where you are using some critical thinking if you look at certain classes. But really, universities were supposed to be about scholastic affairs. They were supposed to be places where you come together and you ask questions and you have disagreements, you have discourse, you have sometimes heated arguments, heated debates. We no longer have that. All of these schools, all of these institutions are trying to make everyone feel comfortable, make everyone feel special, make everyone feel unique. We don't want people's feelings to be hurt. Look, in order to find truth, in order to pursue truth, in order to go through a meritocratic system, you have to risk being offensive to people. And sometimes it's not even intentional. You're saying something, but it's offensive to other people. And you have that combativeness. That's part of the education system. But when we remove that and we make everyone feel comfortable, let's ask this question. Why are these institutions trying to make everyone feel comfortable and feel like they're participating instead of actually lining up what is going to happen in objective reality? Like there are going to be people who are better than you that get the job over you. You might be in a position where you're going to get the girl over someone else because you're more qualified in whatever attributes that are required for that situation. We have to understand that people at the top of hierarchies, people at the top of different institutions, not necessarily the school institutions, but they want to have control. Look, every human wants power, wealth, influence, and a lot of people at the top, they have those same ideologies. Intrinsically, that's what most humans want. So they will climb to the top of hierarchies. They'll have power, wealth, control, and then they want control over labor. They want control over resources. So people are resources. People are labor. When you can control the people, you don't really want them to be educated because then they could compete for your spot. If they're smart enough to do so, if they have enough education, they connect the dots in the right way, they work hard enough, they could actually take your spot, especially in the United States of America, where this is a meritocratic system. So the people at the top will, through different interests, it's not like you have 1 or 10 guys that are orchestrating this. It's a multiple amount of people who are coming together because they have their own interests. And those interests advertently or inadvertently create systems that, let's say, are part of bread and circuses. So bread and circuses was an intentional act, an intentional edict by the Roman Empire, where you would feed people and you would distract them with entertainment. We have that a lot in society. Every day there's something going on with sports. Every day there's a new event politically. Every day there's TMZ, E-entertainment. And so you can distract the people. You can not necessarily dumb them down, although you could do that, but you could manipulate them and restrict them from reaching their true intellectual potential. And what that does, if you're at the top, is you have less competition. And so the people, the majority of the people, are put in this system, and they're treated like cattle, essentially. They're treated like vermin, like livestock. And they go through the system, and whoever matches up to certain ideals, okay, you get a job at this corporation, you're now a salary slave. Now, why is this? That's a good thing domestically for people at the top of these hierarchies in America, but it's a bad thing long term because you have other nations out there, specifically the Asian countries, where they go heavy on academics, sometimes to a detriment. In fact, a lot of times to a detriment. But at least they're comparing each other, the students, which is indicative of how objective reality looks, because you have person A always competing with person B and vice versa. Now, in the Asian countries, they do take it too far, but they take it far enough to the point where they are outcompeting us when it comes to all the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, math. In America, we're focusing on entertainment a lot. That is and we've done this for a long time. We've outsourced, or rather exported, entertainment to other countries, but other countries are finding their own ways on creating their own entertainment. It's no longer about Hollywood. It's no longer about our TV shows. It still is primarily, but that's really the only thing we're exporting. All of these other countries are exporting things that long term will give them leverage over our nation. Why is this a problem? A lot of people may not care. This is a problem because America is the only place that has individual rights. This is the only place where you have true freedom of speech. This is the only place where you can keep and bear arms, other than I think like Switzerland. When you have other nations who don't care about those rights, they just care about colonization, resources, having power, leverage, changing the world reserve currency so that their currency is at the top. That lowers our standard of living, first and foremost, but also it degrades our individual rights. All of the rights that we know and love are degraded. Is this currently a perfect system? No. There are corrupt people everywhere. There are corrupt people running the nation. There are criminals who protect each other, but they have enough wherewithal to have good PR, and so they don't necessarily look like criminals, but behind the scenes they're doing a lot of criminal activity. But this nation still has the Constitution. This nation still has a decent amount of people, whether it's 10 to 20% of the people, who believe in these rights and will stand up for these rights even on your behalf. And so that is something that we need to treasure and prize, because if we let our school system get way too out of hand, where it's not really it's no longer an educational form of learning. This is indoctrination. This is putting people as cattle and going through the motions, and then getting put in some place where they're not even learning. Like in a company, you're doing someone else's bidding most of the time. You're just a cog in the machine. You're not indispensable. You're not special. You're not unique. And sometimes you have to go through that. But overall, we have the ability to educate our population, yet we don't enforce that. And if we were truly running a nation who wanted to be at the top long term, and to not only have rights here in America, but to spread those rights, which essentially are human rights, to other nations, we need to cultivate an educated population. When you have an educated population, you have less people that are overweight and are obese. You have more people who are being productive in society and giving back to people. You have more entrepreneurs who are building businesses and solving problems. You have a greater GDP. You have higher standards of living. These are all positive benefits. Are there some costs to it? Sure. There's no perfect system. There's no utopia. But compared to every other nation in the world, this is the best. And we need to make sure we preserve that, not degrade that, because there are still people here in America who don't really care if the majority of the population are not educated. Their position is safe in the hierarchy. They're going to live 30, 40 more years, and they don't really care what happens after that. We should be focused on leaving this place better than we left it.